everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Davis. Like I'd mentioned on Monday, we'll be back to provide all the necessary updates in the world of FPL. So we are back today, and today we're going to answer one of the main questions I've been receiving in the weeks prior, which is to do with the wildcard. Most people are always asking, when can I use my wildcard? We're coming to the end of the year, I'm going to lose it. And one of the advice I think I would give is to wait for game week 12 after this international break, because I think it's the last one, and that kicks in or starts like the new phase of the actual season going forwards. So yeah, part of what we're going to cover today is to go through the different wildcard drafts. For those of us that are going to be wildcarding, personally, I've already used mine, as you all know, but I know a number of people have not yet. So we'll go through a number of drafts that I've come up with to, and then see the different ideologies behind them. For those that are going with Salah only, for those that are going with Haaland only, for those that are going with both Haaland and Salah, then you can probably be able to guide your wildcard going forward. So I'm off of the 76 points of last week, as I had mentioned in Monday. This is how the team performed, obviously. And then part of the watch list that we covered on Monday was to do with a couple of players that I think were very integral in the previous game week, and we expect much from them going forward in the next game weeks. So part of what we are going to cover, for example, in our wildcards, you'll notice some of these players are appearing more than once in most of the wildcards drafts. So all that, what I'm trying to mention here is that the same wildcard, the same watch list helps to, for example, fuel or provide the guidance on how all these different wildcards are being drawn up, or how we're coming up with them. So we shall go through, I think, our very first wildcard, which is this. Now, this is a draft that I did come up with. It has no Haaland, but I think it captures, I think, all of at least the main players that I think going forward have the best fixtures. For example, in goal would have Raya and Fabianski. Fabianski right now I think is the best second goalkeeper going forward. He's playing for West Ham ahead of who was initially their number ones at the start of the season, and I think he does switch or does swap perfectly with Raya as well. So in a game week like this one that is coming up, Raya plays Nottingham Forest and he plays Newcastle. Both of them can start actually either way, because Fabianski is very good on the save points as well. And Raya, I think, much as Arsenal has not been getting the clean sheets previously, I feel like they have the whole team back fully fit. Yes, a few players here that are still having a few niggles, but we do believe going forward, I think they should now stabilize, begin going forward properly with Odegaard back in the squad, and then also have the cover with Partey and Rice back in their right positions to enable the defense be able to bring in those clean sheets. So for me, and you'll notice for all the different wildcards that are going to be discussed, those two are in goal and locked in. Yes, I know there's a discussion of, for example, Flecken, but I think that can go in depending on the different assets you're trying to bring in, because obviously Raya is on the high end as a goalkeeper. So if you want to save some extra funds and probably fund an extra defender, or fund someone like Gabriel who's good going forward and those set pieces who doesn't appear in my drafts, that is something that you can also consider. Going to my defense, I did keep one thing that has to be mentioned is that this is a team that has grown in value. So for some of you, you might have to jump in very quick for some of those transfers, as you will notice. For example, someone like Fernandez, when we do review my team, is someone I've already brought in because I had to get ahead of the price increment before he did increase, and I think he's going to be increasing even further, because as you can see right now he's on 8.3, and I think he has already increased to 8.4, 8.5. That is to be discussed. So in my defense, it would be still having Konsa. They still have very good fixtures. For those that have Rogers, for example, I would still say is a hold. Then Robinson, the fixtures look good for Fulham. We shall go through all these different teams' fixtures, all the main people's fixtures that I'm referring to. Then obviously Konate as a Liverpool, I think is one of the cheapest defenders, because Van Dijk is a bit costly. So I think Konate is still on the cheap end, and it brings you the clean sheets that Liverpool is bringing in, because is now, I think they have now the best defense, him and Van Dijk, because obviously the keepers keep on swapping between Alisson and Kelleher. Yeah, and then this also assumes that Dunk is going to be with us and fully fit after the international break. If we can bring him in, I think it's going to be a very good asset as well for Brighton, because their fixtures turn and look good onwards. Then it's a no-brainer for Ain Nori, because it's someone we've been talking about for a while now. Fingers crossed he doesn't get that yellow card and be suspended anytime soon, though. In this midfield, we'd have Semenyo, Cole Palmer, Mo Salah, Bruno Fernandes, and then Saka. Same applies to Saka. Hopefully, after the international break, he's fully fit going forward. And then in our striking, we'd have Isak, uh, Joao Pedro, and Cunha. The good thing with having Isak is that in the event that you actually want to bring back someone like Haaland, it's easy. It's easy for you to always just do that in, like, for example, two moves. You can just get out a Semenyo or a Saka or a Bruno Fernandes together with Isak, and then you already have Haaland back together, maybe with a cheaper and a budget midfielder. But I did notice, like we shall see for some of the drafts ahead, having no expensive other striker would require you to bring in Haaland in, for example, 3 or 4 moves, which would be quite costly. Why do I mention this? Is because, as we say, always say, FPL is played in like, it's not about getting the best assets, but it's about getting the right assets at the right time. So there is a time ahead when we are going to have to need Haaland. Right now, it looks like he's dropping in price and doesn't look as important as some of you may want. But yes, so it's important to know that he will be needed. He will be needed. The next draft we're going to go to, I think the important thing about this one is we do not have a Semenyo. Instead of a Semenyo, we do have an Evan Nelson. Evan Nelson comes into our striking, and then obviously uh, you do get to notice instead we have at least a backing of, for example, someone like Mbeumo. So our midfield in this case would have Mbeumo, Palmer, Salah, Bruno Fernandes, and Saka. Then our striking would be led by Evan Nilsson, who is looking very good as well going forward. And the fixtures, as we shall see for Bournemouth, are also good. Joao Pedro and Cunha. Then our defense is completely unchanged together with our defense. So there's not much difference here, like I mentioned. The third draft that we shall look at is one that has both Salah and Haaland. Now, that I think is the main thing here. Obviously, Semenyo does make a reappearance, and then we have another very budget, I think, striker at the forward. So you, for the most time, you'll have to always use the striking of only two strikers, either Joao Pedro and Haaland, and then you can play the entire your midfield and then pick out the right people to use in your defense. So this is what I did try to come out for those that at least are trying to hold on to both Salah and Haaland, something like that. But like I mentioned, you really need to have gotten ahead of all the price increments. So your team's value needs to be a bit on the high end. Yeah. So maybe to quickly go through how my team will be lining up for game week 12. Like I did mention, I already brought in Bruno Fernandes. I brought him in for my Everton midfielder that is who was injured the previous game week. Had lined McNeil up, but he didn't play, and that's made the direct switch for Konsa to get off the bench. So I brought him in for I switched him for Bruno Fernandes, who I believe has a very good fixture. And I think the Man United fixtures also do look good generally. That's what I wanted to for us to go through briefly. You do notice at least the next two where they play Ipswich and Everton before they get to play Arsenal are really good ones, and hopefully, fingers crossed, he can be able to capitalize on those. Maybe to look at the other assets that I was referring to that you also need to consider someone like Mbuemo. I think, yes, some people are beginning to think their fixtures turn. Yes, they do have Aston Villa and Chelsea, which are difficult in there, but at the consistency that Mbuemo has been at, you tend to feel like you can still maintain him and keep him through all that. But even before that, as you can see, he does play Everton and Leicester, which are good fixtures. So him and Wissa are still very good assets going forward. Then obviously the Wolves people are a no-brainer. We've mentioned that they have the longest fixtures up to like game week 19 and they're still sorted. Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, Ipswich, Leicester, all those are in there. So if the likes of Cunha, Strand Larsen and Ain Nuri can continue to perform, they would be very good holds going forward. I did want to check on someone like yes, someone like Semenyo. If you get to look, for example, at the Bournemouth fixtures, you do get to notice they also have some good fixtures really going forward. I think Spurs is the only, you could say, a bit difficult, but we know Spurs with its leaky defense as well. So the likes of Evan Nilsson and Semenyo continue to look very good assets as well. We can look at the Newcastle fixtures as well. I think Liverpool would be the hard one in there, but Isak and his team also look good. So I'm showing you all this because you need to, like I always mentioned, to get in players for a long haul. Now, this is probably the last stage that most of you are going to use your wild card, leading you all the way up to the end of the year. So and there's not going to be any other break all the way forward. So you really need to get a team that you know is going to help you save on those transfers. And then in case you do actually have to make the changes here and there, maybe because of injuries and all this, it's not because it's not to the extent that it will lead you to get a hit. Yeah. So the likes of Colwyn, you did notice Colwyn was, for example, in the first draft. That's because also the Chelsea fixtures look good. This is Parma. They play Leicester, Aston Villa, maybe Spurs in there, but they have the likes of Ipswich. They have the likes of Leicester. So all those are very good fixtures, and they have a very good fixture run up till probably game week 20 when they get to play the likes of Man City 22. Yeah. So I hope this video has been productive, especially for those of us that are going to be wildcarding going forward. And yeah, uh, I hope it can be of help. I personally already used my wildcard, but fingers crossed and all the best to all of you that are going to be wildcarding. Otherwise, FPL responsibly. I'll catch you next time. Thank you and bye.